This is the What's Next Teacher Podcast with your host, Dr. Julie Warner.
Here you'll hear from former teachers who have left the classroom for thriving careers in and outside of education to help you picture yourself on the other side and land the job of your dreams.
If you're feeling confused about what to do next, stuck, or fearful about paying the bills, What's Next Teacher has your back.
Now here's your host, Dr. Julie Warner.
Hey guys, it's just a one-on-one pod today, you and me. And I wanted to talk a little bit about resumes. And I'm going to give you 5 things I wish I knew about resumes when I was still teaching. I want to help you guys understand the resume format as a job document, what's the underlying ethos, and really understand what you're trying to do when you're writing a resume. And I also want to boost your confidence. And I don't want you to make some of those same mistakes I did. So let's jump right in. So the first thing I wish I knew about resumes when I was still a teacher is that you have to use the job posting that you're applying to as a roadmap. And something I tell my clients is that you need to be helping the hiring manager for whatever position you're applying for to cross what I call the invisible bridge. And the invisible bridge is this connection between the skills and experience that you bring from all of your work experience, paid, unpaid, formal, and informal, and what they're looking for in a candidate to handle the job. So if you're making them do a lot of work, a lot of cognitive load being placed on the hiring manager when they're looking at your resume to figure out just how much value you're going to bring to their organization, if you're making them do the guesswork about how your experience applies, you're going to end up in the no pile. There are just too many resumes, job applicants that are coming across the hiring manager's desk that are very clearly and obviously suited for the open role. And you'll go to the no pile if you aren't making it apparent right away. And so in order to do that, you want to use the job posting as a roadmap. So how exactly do you do this? Well, you need to be looking at the job posting, whether you want to do some kind of annotation or highlighting or whatever it might be to pick out what are the major qualifications that they're looking for in this job, and really think from the perspective of the hiring manager, what is it that they're looking for this person to actually do? What are the outputs that they want to see? Because you're going to need to demonstrate with evidence, with metrics, that you can do those things, that you have done those things. And you've got to have that data there that shows or proves that you've done it. It should all be there making the case for you. So if you have, let's say, paid a resume writer $400+ to create that one professional resume for you, you're not doing this. And if you're not getting any interviews, that's why, because sending out the same resume for all different types of jobs and all different types of organizations, it's not an effective strategy. When I see teachers tell me, I sent out 500 resumes and I only got one interview, I'm thinking, well, you only got that one interview by chance, because it was only by chance that your resume spoke to this specific job opening. So you don't want to leave things up to chance. You want to take control. And the best way to take control, again, is to use that job posting as a roadmap for drafting your resume. The second thing I wish I would have known when I was still teaching about resumes is that you don't have to use the traditional resume format, that reverse chronological list of everything that you've done boring. And not only is it boring, and not only does a hiring manager not really care about your past and what you've done, they care about what you can do for them now. The traditional resume format really puts a lot of attention on your past work history. And if you're a teacher job changer, you know that's not what you want to do. So, what you'll want to do is use a skills based, sometimes this is called a functional resume format. And what this does is it highlights your skills that you're bringing rather than your job history. And so you're able then to take that job posting, which you're using as a roadmap, right? And you take those skills out of the qualification section or anywhere else that they may be listed in the posting, and you can put them right in that skills based resume format. And I do, as a side note, offer these skills based resume templates on my website, and they're totally downloadable and customizable. And what I have there are skills based resume templates that are filled out already with sample bullets that I crafted based on whatever that job role is, but drawing from teacher skills and common experiences that teachers have. And so that's a really helpful thing if you're not sure how to write resume bullets, especially, let's say you're applying for a sales position and you only have teaching experience and you're not really sure how to make the case that you can do this job that you're raising your hand to do in the resume. Those templates can really be helpful for you. The third thing that I wish I would have known about resumes when I was still teaching is that you can list skills that you've gathered or garnered that are coming from things beyond just paid experience. In other words, you can list on your resume skills that you got from paid positions, but also unpaid positions. It could be formal experience. It could also be informal experience. And so how do you get that kind of experience? What am I talking about? Well, there are tons of opportunities out there to get experience for free. I don't want anybody going back to school or, retraining and spending a ton of time and money when there are free ways to get experience, the kind of experience you need to be able to make a case for yourself on your resume. So here's an example. You could volunteer for a local club. Local clubs, let's say, here's an example, Toastmasters, they have a leadership team and they're all volunteer positions, and they allow you to get experience doing a variety of things. So there's an officer role where you're doing PR. And so you could get some free PR experience if you volunteered for that role. So look into that. There are boards you can sit on in a voluntary capacity where you're building a lot of useful skills beyond teaching. You can do freelance work. If you have friends with small businesses, for example, maybe you want to offer them your services for free or low cost, and that's going to help you build your portfolio, which you really need, but for many of these types of positions that I see folks applying for, but also it gives you the skills that you need to be able to draw on in writing these resume bullets. So think beyond just your formal paid experience that you get in these W-2 positions, and think about creative ways to get the kind of experience that you need to make that strong case for yourself that you're the person that can do this job for this potential future employer. So, the fourth thing I wish I knew about resumes when I was still teaching is that you should be keeping a log of all of your accomplishments and keeping data. So, I had a mentor who told me this. It was, I think, a couple years into my teaching career. Um, she said you should be updating your resume every couple of months so that you're capturing and not forgetting all of the things that you're doing. And so I started a database just in a Google Excel sheet, something really simple, where I could list all of the different projects I've worked on, in what capacity, what skills that I got from that, what the outcomes were, and any data that I've gathered about those outcomes, because you really do need those accomplishments and those metrics in your resume to make a compelling case, because anyone can say, I've done X, Y, or Z, but having that data there is what really makes that really clear case for you. So my fifth and final tip is to remove jargon and to insert jargon. So this sounds a little counterintuitive, I know, but what you want to do is strip that resume of any kind of education jargon that you've got in there. I know. This sounds nearly impossible to do because the words that we as teachers use to describe what we know how to do and what our outcomes are and have been, it's very specific to our industry, right? We talk about differentiation, we talk about assessments, we talk about teaching strategies like cooperative learning. You might have buzzwords like phonics or something like that. What you want to do is to keep in mind that people outside of education don't know what the heck you're talking about if you're using education jargon, and they just glaze over, frankly. Have you ever tried to read something highly technical that's not in your area of expertise, and every other word is just something new, and so you're struggling to comprehend what it's saying? Well, you don't want a hiring manager to have that feeling when they're looking at your resume. So you need to be using the language that they would use, right? And so if you are including any of those education specific terms, you want to strip those out of there. You may need to rephrase the entire resume bullet. One thing that I want to urge you to avoid is just to drop in industry keywords and industry terms, switching them out for the education jargon. Usually, what you get when you just switch out words like that is gobbledygook. What you really need to be doing is looking at, what did I do in this role? And how can I communicate this using the keywords in the job posting rather than education jargon? And if you're having a hard time figuring out what education jargon is, and it may sound obvious, but in practice, it can be really hard to strip it out. And you may think you've done all that you can do and gone as far as you could, when in actuality, you've still got some of that jargony stuff in there. So enlist a friend, someone that isn't in the education field, and have them read through and tell you what doesn't make sense to them. Everything should be crystal clear for the layperson looking at your resume. And then again, you're going to take that job posting, which you're using as a roadmap, and you're going to pull out all those keywords, all of the words that relate to the types of skills and the types of things that they want you doing on the job. All of the software that they're telling you you're going to need to use, that needs to be worked in as well. So that's the final tip, is just making sure that you are really paying attention to those keywords and to removing that education jargon. And as a bonus, if you are peppering your resume with all of those keywords from the job posting, you're going to make it past those machine screeners, which just about every organization nowadays uses. Even small businesses are using machine screeners in a lot of cases, just because they have so many applications. And so if you don't want to get weeded out by these machine screeners, also called ATS or applicant tracking systems, having those keywords in there is crucial. And again, I'll go back to that skills-based resume format. That format allows you to pack in the keywords. There's a section typically at the top with core competencies, and there you can just list those keywords. So it gives you kind of a little back door to be able to list the keywords that maybe you weren't able to fit into your bullets because it just didn't really make sense for what your experience and your skill set is. And then the skills-based resume also allows you to list your skills. That's how it's really organized, is around the skills themselves. So list those skills pulled right out of your job opening, the job posting. And then for each skill, you'll offer a couple of resume bullets that demonstrate really clearly when you have demonstrated that skill with some evidence, with some data, with some metrics. And then there's also an opportunity at the bottom of the skills-based resume format to list all of the software and tools that you use. So any kind of tools that they mention in the job posting, you are going to need to list them there, and you're going to need to get familiar with them. So even if it's just a matter of, exploring these tools, learning how to use them at a really basic abstract level, at least that's going to give you the ability to stay in integrity and still say, yes, I've used these tools. And then finally, the skills-based resume format has a section for you to have a professional summary at the top. And typically, I don't see a lot of value in these professional summaries, but for teacher job changers, they give you an opportunity again to put in some more of those keywords where they wouldn't fit into your bullets. So I hope you found this helpful, and happy resume writing. I know it's really not the most fun thing in the world, but once you get going with this and you start keeping that database, I recommend that log of all of your accomplishments, things that you've done, and you're tracking things in those formal paid jobs as well as any kind of volunteer roles that you do, freelance on Fiverr or freelance for your friends or whatever it might be. You'll have a lot to draw on, and it'll make things so much easier for you. And I got to say too, that the more experience that you get applying to jobs and creating these bespoke resumes for each job posting, it just becomes second nature. It gets a lot quicker, and you start to see what the connections are between what skills and experience that you bring as a teacher and the different kinds of job functions that you're going to see in these 21st century knowledge economy roles that so many of the teachers I work with are applying for. You have a lot more transferability and marketability than I think you might realize. And once you really get in, dig in, and work with the nuts and bolts of the process, it's going to get easier over time, and it's going to build your confidence. Until next time, see you then.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
To catch all the latest from Julie, check out whatsnextteacher.com or follow up on social media at What's Next Teacher across all platforms.
Thanks again, and see you next time.